CanJam SoCal is taking place September 17th and 18th at the Irvine Marriott Hotel in Orange County, California. Now, we have a lot of gear to highlight in this video, but before we get started, we want to give a special thanks to this year's CanJam SoCal sponsors: DCS, Headphones.com, Headphone Guru, and the Los Angeles and Orange County Audio Society. Now, sit back, relax, and get ready for just a sample of all of the gear at CanJam SoCal this year.
This is the Meze Audio 109 Pro, and if this is the first time you're seeing it, I'm not at all surprised as it hasn't been released yet. However, Meze Audio has been allowing CanJam attendees to hear pre-production versions of the 109 Pro, I think starting with CanJam New York this past winter, and it's definitely been very well received. Now, I know if you're a Meze Audio aficionado, then you're thinking this 109 Pro, given the number name and the obvious Meze design elements throughout, you're probably thinking, and understandably so, that this is the next evolution of the Meze Audio 99 Classics, or an open-back version of the 99 Classics. But nope, the 109 Pro is its own thing. It's a new thing, and it sounds nothing like the 99 Classics. It's way, way better. And the 109 Pro will be officially debuting at CanJam SoCal. At the heart of the Meze Audio 109 Pro is an entirely new dynamic driver that uses what they're calling the 109 series dual membrane diaphragm, which combines a beryllium-coated semi-crystalline polymer torus around a W-shaped cellulose carbon fiber composite dome. That torus surrounding the dome is ultra thin and is engineered to allow the driver to have fast transient response. The Meze Audio 109 Pro is again also open back. It's Meze's first open back dynamic headphone, and it's very open on both sides of each earpiece. On the outside is a very open spider structure that I think looks gorgeous, by the way, and that spider structure is placed over a screen through which you can see clearly into the cup and driver. The inside of the ear cup continues with the openness, with an acoustically and visually transparent grille through which you can see the dual membrane diaphragm I was talking about earlier. The 109 Pro's build quality is also everything you'd expect from Meze Audio, makers of what are maybe the two most beautifully finished headphones at any price with their flagships Empyrean and Elite. The 109 Pro will be priced at $799, will be out very soon, and will again make its official debut at CanJam SoCal, so make sure not to miss it. And speaking of the Empyrean and Elite, if you haven't heard these planar magnetic flagships from Meze Audio yet, do yourself a favor and make sure to do so. They're resolving, they're full-bodied, and for me, they're some of the easiest headphones to listen to for hours at a time. Not to mention, again, perhaps the most meticulously finished headphones in the world at any price.
September is back to school season in Southern California, and classes will be in session at CanJam SoCal this year. There will be a total of 7 seminars taking place beginning on September 17th, and you're invited to enroll simply by stopping by. Each seminar will take place in the Rancho Las Palmas room on the main level of the Irvine Marriott. Seating will be limited, and each seminar happens only once. Be sure to set reminders so you won't miss out on the seminars you want to see. Our seminar sessions kick off on Saturday from noon to 1 p.m. with In-Ear Monitors 101, presented by Jerry Harvey, founder of Jerry Harvey Audio. From humble roots as hearing assistance devices, today's high-performance IEMs now rival the very best full-size headphones. Come learn all about driver types, driver complement, crossovers, timing, coherency, coupling types, how psychoacoustics can be accomplished with minimal pinna interaction, and so much more. Join legendary pioneer of stage and audiophile IEMs Jerry Harvey for this fascinating journey into the past, present, and future of high-fidelity in-ears. Our second seminar session of the day takes place from 2 to 3 p.m. Come join Amps & Sound founder Justin Weber for a talk titled Tubes 101. Ready to take the big plunge into tube amplification? Join us to discover the truths and to dispel the myths of tube-based audio. Learn all about triodes, tetrodes, pentodes, new tubes, and even solid-state tubes, and how to tube roll your way to audio nirvana. Are tube buffers worth it? What's the best way to not get ripped off buying tubes? What about current tube shortages? Whatever they may be, get all of your tube amplification questions answered here. One of the amps that will be discussed in Justin's talk is the new Jinx, an ultralinear 6SL7 and 6V6 based headphone amp from Amps & Sound. Once class is dismissed, be sure to stop by their exhibit to audition the Jinx and hear for yourself how the concepts and designs discussed in Tubes 101 are put into practice. Saturday's seminars continue straight away with Digital Audio 201 from 3 to 4 p.m., presented by Chord Electronics' digital design consultant, Rob Watts. Looking beyond the basics of digital to analog conversion presented in last year's Digital Audio 101 seminar, join Rob for an hour of insight into how digital interpolation filters work. This seminar will cover understanding the importance of interpolation filtering and transients, realizing just how much time domain performance can dictate fidelity and realism, and much more. If you didn't understand any of that and you are currently pursuing an in-game rig with a digital source, then this is one seminar you won't want to miss. Closing out our Saturday seminars from 4 to 5 p.m. will be a talk titled Evolution of Hearing Simulation and an examination of frequency response targets and how we use them, presented by HeadFi's founder, Jude Mansilla. Jude's talk will be an examination of how the most popular hearing simulation standard, commonly referred to as 711, was first developed well over 40 years ago, and how important advancements made in the decades since must inevitably lead to the adoption of emergent standards. Following this, an insightful discussion of frequency response targets, how they are used in the industry by reviewers, and some important considerations therein. Are we missing the target? Find out during Evolution of Hearing Simulation. On Sunday, September 18th from noon to 1 p.m., Kalyan Nadella, Senior Electroacoustic Engineer and BA Commercial Team Lead at Knowles Corporation, will be giving a special presentation titled The Role of Treble Extension in Improving Performance of In-Ear Monitors. While earlier listening studies concentrated on the spectrum below 10 kHz, a significant portion of recorded music occurs as high as 20 kHz. Knowles, a leading manufacturer of balanced armatures and microphones for in-ear monitors, true wireless earphones, and hearing devices, conducted a new study on preferred response curves with a focus on treble performance. Join Kalyan as he shares what was learned about the significance of treble response on listener preferences, and how that led to the development of Knowles' new balanced armature supertweeter. From 2 to 3 p.m., Michael Ricci, Senior Director of Electroacoustic Engineering from xMEMS Labs, will give a special presentation titled Solid State Fidelity, an Introduction to the World's First All-Silicon Microspeakers for Personal Audio Devices. This talk will introduce a new all-silicon transduction mechanism that is set to disrupt century-old coil magnet driver architectures. This new solid-state architecture implements both actuation and diaphragm in silicon, resulting in unmatched part-to-part frequency response and phase consistency. This innovative transduction mechanism has also produced the world's fastest and most precise microspeakers, eliminating spring and suspension recovery of coil speakers, which improves audio quality and sound field reproduction. Closing out our CanJam SoCal seminar schedule this year, Rob Watts returns from 3 to 4 p.m. for a special presentation about Chord Electronics' Mojo 2. 7 years after the debut of its predecessor, Chord's long-awaited Mojo 2 portable DAC amp is finally here. Come join Rob Watts of Chord Electronics for a fascinating recounting of its development over the years, and a comprehensive overview of the Mojo 2's groundbreaking features, including UHD DSP, enhanced menu options featuring an additional control sphere for crossfeed, mute, and lock settings, intelligent FPGA-based battery management and charging, and of course, more tabs. Again, these seminars will be taking place in the Rancho Las Palmas room, located on the main level of the Irvine Marriott. Bring all of your burning questions and have them answered during this incredible weekend of presentations, lectures, and interactive classes.
Though it might not be readily apparent from our exhibitor list, CanJam SoCal is actually chock full of cable options for you to consider. If you need power cables or interconnects for your rig, then you'll want to check out Atlas Cables, Moon Audio, and the Source AV. In addition to their own brands, Moon Audio also offers Cardus and Claris products, while the Source AV carries AudioQuest, Timber, Nordost, Wireworld, and tributaries. For headphone cables, you'll find a wide variety of options available from Atlas's Xeno line, Moon Audio's Dragon line, and the Source AV's Cobra line. If you need a balanced cable specifically for your Sennheiser HD800 or HD600 series headphone, don't forget that Deconi Audio stocks some of the most affordable balanced Sennheiser headphone cables around. And if you're looking for IEM cables, you're definitely in luck. Both Flash Acoustics and Yangtze offer a full range of accessible options to fit any budget. And for those of you on the hunt for premium IEM cables, we're fortunate to have two of today's premier manufacturers joining us all the way from Singapore. If you're a fan of Effect Audio, then you've probably noticed that their Heritage series is looking a bit sparse as of late. The Leonidas 2 has been unavailable for quite some time now, and I've just learned that the Cleopatra line is about to be discontinued as well. Ordinarily, I'd be concerned about this, but as it turns out, Effect Audio is rebooting their entire Heritage series with 3 new cables. The first of which is this, Effect Audio's new Cleopatra 2. Aesthetically, it shares multiple design cues and materials with their top-of-the-line flagship model, the Centurion, featuring very similar precision CNC titanium Y-splits and plug housings. Internally, like the original Cleopatra, it's a 4-wire pure silver cable utilizing multi-size strands. But unlike the original, Cleopatra 2 employs two completely different geometries, each of which is optimized for different driver types to better support the many hybrid IEMs available today. In listening tests with my Noble Audio Con and Jomo Audio GT600, both of which are accomplished tribrid IEMs, I was pleasantly surprised by its balance and poise, as it offered me all the detail and refinement one would expect of a silver cable, while eschewing the harshness typically associated with silver and delivering the kind of full-bodied natural tonality usually found only in fine copper cables. Because of how even-keeled it is, I can see many cable enthusiasts adopting the Cleopatra 2 as their standard go-to silver cable, using it as their baseline for comparing various IEMs and sources. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what Effect Audio intended, since both Connects and Termex kits are standard includes with the Cleopatra 2 for maximum versatility. Visit Effect Audio's booth to give the new Cleopatra 2 a listen, a touch and a feel, and a good look over to see if it appeals to your senses. Meanwhile, Eletech will be joining us at CanJam SoCal 2022 with their Ode to Laura, their new flagship copper cable from the premium Parnassus line. Meticulously designed and developed over the course of 15 months, Eletech's Ode to Laura is perhaps the most extreme expression of a copper IEM cable I've ever come across. It features 4 OFC shielded 22-gauge wires, each of which is comprised of 9 cores, with each of those cores consisting of 4 different types of copper strands that were themselves continuously cast from 3 different blends of copper. And the result sounds exactly the way you'd think a flagship copper cable should sound. There's an abundance of weight and gravitas, lending palpable body to both voices and instruments alike, and a lifelike tonality that offers fidelity without fatigue. And yes, the Ode to Laura is definitely a fine piece of audio jewelry. So what's the catch? Well, it's nearly impossible to get your hands on one right now. Eletech timed its release to coincide with CanJam London last month. It never made it, because the first production run sold out within 48 hours, days ahead of the event. There's a second production run open right now for pre-orders, but I suspect that will be sold out by the time you see this. So if you hear and see Eletech's Ode to Laura at CanJam SoCal 2022, and you decide that it's right for you, be sure to reserve your spot in line right away. Oh, before I forget, Eletech is also bringing a long-awaited prototype cable to CanJam SoCal. It's not a public line, so I'm not allowed to reveal what it is here, but if you'd like to try it out, just tell them that Warren sent you and mention the code word Hemlock. So, whether you're looking for a replacement cable, an upgrade cable, different terminations, or simply treating yourself to some audio jewelry, CanJam SoCal 2022 has got you covered.
Headphones.com will be joining us at CanJam SoCal 2022, and they're also one of our CanJam SoCal sponsors, so thank you Headphones.com for helping make CanJam SoCal possible. Now this is an odd one, and I mean that in all of the best ways possible. What I have on the table here is a headphone amplifier with a wild number of functions, which I've neither seen nor ever considered seeing on a headphone amp before. Yet now that it's here, I want to do nothing more than to tweak and play with it endlessly. It's called the Zoll HM1 Reference Mixing Headphone Amplifier. Let's take a moment to look at it more closely. The Zoll HM1 is a fully analog dual mono Class A headphone amplifier designed by the former engineer and mixing console designer Michael Zoll. On the surface, it shares a number of similarities with other headphone amplifiers in our space, but the deeper you look, the more apparent it becomes that the HM1 is something truly special. Like I said, there are features here I wouldn't have expected. For starters, it has a built-in switch to allow the listener to compare multiple sources head-to-head. Now, that may sound like every other amp with multiple inputs, but the HM1 offers a dedicated volume control on each input for precise level matching. There's no need to change volume when switching between DACs at different output levels. Could that perhaps be a source reviewer's dream function? And that's not all you can do with multiple sources either. You can also crossfade between the two. Say for example you have a game console and a music source hooked up at the same time. You can crossfade smoothly from one to the other, or even have both running concurrently and mix the balance to your liking. The HM1 also offers a built-in 2-band EQ and left-right balance control. Its external linear power supply provides enough juice to push up to 4 watts RMS and 7.6 watts peak into 30 ohms. And speaking of amplification, there are 2 amplification modes on the HM1, Pure Class A and what Zoll calls Class A plus Servo. The plus servo mode adds negative feedback to correct for errors between the amp and headphones, while the pure Class A mode is the same circuit without any negative feedback corrections for a more natural distortion and artifact-free signal. My time with the HM1 has been in Class A mode, but I'll be trying out the plus servo mode soon. Now, as I understand it, only 50 units of these hand-built amps are produced each year, and at this point, the 2022 batch is long gone. Headphones.com has secured a handful of the units that will be produced in 2023. With the HM1 on display at the Headphones.com exhibit, CanJam SoCal will be one of your only chances to experience this workhorse of an amp. Stop by Headphones.com's booth and try the Zoll HM1 with some of your reference headphones.
Two legendary in-ear makers, Etymotic and Westone Audio, will be exhibiting together at CanJam SoCal. And the reason is because they were both acquired by Lucid Audio, and I'm grateful to know that Lucid Audio seems to have a genuine interest in continuing the unique legacies of each of these brands. Etymotic is still very much Etymotic, and Westone Audio is still very much Westone Audio. However, one thing seems pretty certain to me. They want to carry on the traditions of each of these storied brands, but with continued advancements and improvements. When it comes to Etymotic, anyone familiar with Etymotic knows they were solidly dedicated to the concept of single-driver in-ear designs for many, many years. But it seems Etymotic's engineers were recently given free rein, and with that came their first move into multi-driver design with the Etymotic Evo. The Etymotic Evo is a 3-balanced armature design with a 2-way crossover. The Evo uses dual balanced armature low-frequency drivers and a single mid-range treble balanced armature driver. I want to be clear, though, that the Etymotic Evo is still very much an Etymotic, but with deeper, richer bass and overall more resolution than any Etymotic I've heard before it. For those of you who haven't heard Etymotics before, I think most would perceive the Evo as more neutral, flatter, and with just enough energy in the bass to elevate it out of leanness, and more within the range of neutrality that I like, with a touch more body. The Etymotic Evo would be a solid monitor in my opinion, and also a wonderful general use audiophile earphone. And while they're venturing into multi-driver designs, Etymotic is still, of course, developing single-driver designs too. They recently announced a collaboration in-ear with Drop called the Drop Etymotic ERX, and it's a single-driver balanced armature design using a Concha-type chassis like the Evo. I have not heard the Drop Etymotic ERX yet, so I'll be hearing it for the first time at CanJam SoCal like you. Westone Audio will be showing their recently launched Westone Audio Mach lineup of in-ear monitors, and here's why the new Mach Universal Fit series is so significant. There has been wide acceptance of Westone's custom fit IEMs in the pro audio world for ages now. They're used on stage by many artists. But one of the peculiar things about Westone's lineup is that there were no universal fit versions of these beloved custom fit in-ear monitors. Westone's universal fits had their own separate voicings, independent of the customs. But with the new Mach lineup of universal fit IEMs, each of the models is voiced similarly to its numbered ES custom fit counterpart. For example, this is my Westone ES60 custom fit IEMs, one of my favorite of all my custom fit IEMs for its fit, its comfort, and of course for its sound signature. The custom ES60, though, was the only way you'd get to hear this signature. But this is the new Westone Audio Mach 60, and its sound signature reminds me quite a lot of these ES60 customs. And that's the point. And it's like this, again, across the entire Mach lineup with the model-numbered ES custom counterparts. Anyway, make sure to visit the Lucid Audio exhibit to hear the Etymotic Evo, Drop Etymotic ERX, and the Westone Mach Universal Fit in-ears. And during the CanJam SoCal show days, Westone will be offering a 30% discount on the entire Mach lineup, and they'll be giving away 2 Westone Audio Mach 60s. To find out how to win, you'll have to visit Lucid Audio's exhibit at CanJam SoCal.
HIFIMAN is one of those companies that covers the headphone gamut from the ultra premium to the ultra affordable, from their flagship Shangri-La to their easy-on-the-wallet HE400 SE. For those of you looking for the former, you'll be able to experience the HIFIMAN Shangri-La Jr. at HIFIMAN's CanJam SoCal exhibit, but for this video, I want to instead focus on the other end of that spectrum with HIFIMAN's latest budget-friendly offering. This is HIFIMAN's latest creation, the HIFIMAN Sundara Closed Back. The Sundara Closed Back features the same Neo Super Nano diaphragm found in its open back sibling, the Sundara. HIFIMAN says that this diaphragm is up to 80% thinner than diaphragms found in many common headphones, and that the Neo diaphragm gives the Sundara Closed Back a frequency response beginning at 6 Hz and running all the way up to 50 kHz. These drivers are housed within a pair of hand-finished beechwood cups and terminated with dual-entry 3.5mm connectors. Being the newest member of the family, the Sundara closed back picked up a few new tricks from its other HIFIMAN siblings that you won't find in the Sundara open back, starting with the inclusion of HIFIMAN's stealth magnets. HIFIMAN says that the stealth magnets significantly reduce reflections and diffractions that are detrimental to sound quality. I believe the first headphone in HIFIMAN's line with stealth magnets was their 4-figure Aria Stealth, so it's exciting to see the technology making its way to one of HIFIMAN's wallet-friendly models. Another trick it picked up is this headphone stand, which comes included as part of the Sundara closeback's packaging. I love seeing intelligent packaging designs like this that are useful for both long and short-term headphone storage. Now, the Sundara closed back arrived in the final days for this preview, so my sonic impressions are still a bit limited, but first impressions are that this will likely be a highlight for those who are looking for a closed headphone with a warmer tilt and a present but controlled low end. To my ears, it's a bit relaxed through the presence region, which could mean comfortable extended listening sessions for many headfires. If that sounds like something that you're on the hunt for, then put the Sundara closed back at the top of your list. Now, of course, HIFIMAN will have a full collection of gear in addition to their headphones, gear like the HIFIMAN EF400 Himalaya R2R DAC amp combo. We've talked about the EF400 in the past few CanJam preview videos, and Judah was surprised with just how flexible this affordable desktop source is. It'll drive practically anything from the ultra-sensitive to the ultra-insensitive and everything in between. HIFIMAN's Himalaya R2R DAC architecture must be heard to be believed, so make sure that the EF400 is also on your audition list. Whether you're on a strict budget or have an immensely plump wallet, HIFIMAN's CanJam SoCal exhibit will offer something for everyone. Begin your HIFIMAN journey with the Sundara closedback and EF400 to see what's possible without breaking the bank, and then make your way through their line to see how much magic HIFIMAN can pull out at each stop along the way.
At CanJam London last July, there was one exhibit that I'd call the standout exhibit of the show, and that was DCS's exhibit room. In their exhibit room at CanJam London, DCS created a quieter listening environment in which they had several listening stations, and each one of those listening stations had its own additional acoustic isolation. In every one of the listening stations was a full DCS Lena stack, and the new DCS Lena system is among the finest desktop headphone hi-fi systems I've ever used, and I'll get to Lena more specifically in a moment. Furthermore, each of the different stations was a mix of some of the very best headphones in the world, being driven, of course, by the Lena systems. I think they also allowed you to plug in your own headphones if you brought them. Now at CanJam SoCal, I believe DCS will be showing some version of that Lena lounge concept, and you definitely have to spend some serious listening time in there with those DCS Lena setups. This is the full DCS Lena system, and it's a 3-piece system purpose-built for headphone listeners. It consists of a dedicated network DAC, master clock, and headphone amplifier, and while you can buy them all as a system, each of these can be acquired separately. Now let's start with what I consider the heart of the system and what DCS has been most known for decades, the DAC, the digital to analog converter. The Lena Network DAC supports high-res streaming from Roon, Tidal, Qobuz, Spotify, Deezer, AirPlay, and more, and it has over 2,000 individual components on its circuit boards and is built around DCS's legendary Ring DAC technology and digital processing platform. In addition to decoding everything I would possibly feed to it, it has technologies and features very specific to headphone audiophiles. One of those technologies is something called DCS Expanse technology, which is a headphone processing platform that offers an enhanced version of crossfeed. I've said many times before, I'm a big fan of crossfeed when I feel it's needed. It's actually a very important feature for me. So I love with Lena that it's happening at the DAC level, and as such, it enables any headphone amp I use with it with this advanced crossfeed. Now with it, there's a standard crossfeed setting and 2 other Expanse crossfeed settings that are more advanced, preserving the reverberation in a recording, which standard crossfeed circuits can often deaden or soften. Also, I just want to say the Lena Network DAC is just a beautiful sounding DAC. Now, this second component is the DCS Lena Master Clock. The Lena Master Clock uses oven-controlled dual crystal oscillators to deliver a precise and stable clocking reference. In other words, it allows the Lena Network DAC to be locked to a master reference signal, minimizing jitter and other irregularities. The Lena Master Clock is intended to enhance all aspects of sound for a more immersive listening experience. Now, having read reviews of DCS master clocks over the years, I always wondered what having one in the system meant, especially because I think it's around 9 out of 10 DCS DAC owners end up adding a DCS master clock to their systems at some point. I was finally able to do a master clock demo at CanJam Singapore with the DCS Bartok, switching a DCS Rossini master clock in and out, and the difference was striking in that system. Others who were there who walked in to do the same demo ended up with the same surprised look I had. And finally, this is the DCS Lena headphone amplifier. This amp took years of development. Having immersed themselves in our community, DCS saw that headfires will often want to drive a wide range of earphones and headphones with their amps. And so essentially, DCS wanted this amp to be able to drive a lot of voltage into high impedance headphones, a lot of current into low impedance ones, and to also drive well those headphones that simultaneously need a lot of voltage and a lot of current. They went with a Class AB stage with a new innovative error correction technique. This amp is very flexible. From the Lena headphone amplifier, I've been listening to the Sony IER-M9 and The Audio Monarch Mark II IEMs in the amp's low gain mode. And in addition to it being quiet in terms of self-noise, it was one of the best sounding amps I've used with either of those IEMs. I've also been listening to this amp with the HIFIMAN Susvara in its high gain mode, and it's among the best solid state headphone amps I've heard with the Susvara. Now, being able to switch between a wide variety of IEMs and over-ears, all of it driven beautifully, makes this such a very special system. Again, the DCS exhibit room should be at the top of your priority list at CanJam SoCal this year.
If you've watched our last couple CanJam previews, then you've no doubt heard of this headphone before. If you haven't, then let me introduce you to something marvelous. This is the Audeze MM500. Yes, you heard that correctly, I didn't say LCD. The MM500 may share several styling cues with Audeze's iconic LCD family of headphones, but it's more of a cousin than a sibling. In fact, like the name implies, it's not part of the LCD line at all. The MM500 is the first model to arrive from Audeze's new line for audio professionals. The MM portion of the name is short for Grammy Award-winning recording engineer and Audeze's new head of professional products, Manny Marroquin. The MM500 is Manny's first project at Audeze, and he and the team went all out on its development. The end result is a headphone that looks similar to other Audeze headphones we've heard over the years, but with a sound all its own. Over the past few weeks, I've been getting to know the MM500 signature, and it's quickly becoming one of, if not my single favorite headphone in Audeze's lineup. Previously, my go-to in Audeze's full-size family has been their LCD-X, but my time with the MM500 has me questioning if I'll be reaching for the LCD-X anytime soon. The MM500 is more resolving than the LCD-X, and resolving capability is something I value quite highly. I don't find it as resolving as Audeze's flagships LCD5 or Carbon, and I believe there are many headfires who would prefer something less resolving than those two. It's also a bit more body through the mids and bass when sitting next to its flagship cousins, but more refined in those same areas next to the LCD-X. I've often used the LCD-X while working on our HeadFi TV videos, and the MM500 will likely end up taking its place going forward. When I'm not working on our next video project, I can assure you the MM500 will be sitting within reach for music listening too. Make the MM500 your first stop at Audeze's CanJam SoCal exhibit, and see why it might just be the best overall value in their entire line.
If you're a SoCal headfire, then chances are you've at least heard of the Source AV, or TSAV for short. Based in Torrance, California, TSAV's 10,000 square foot showroom is packed with high-end 2-channel hi-fi, next-level home theater, and, for us headfires, a fantastic selection of personal audio gear available for auditions anytime we want. Now, if you know TSAV's co-founder Jason Lord, then you also know that he doesn't typically hold gimmicky sales. There are no semi-annual clearances or Black Friday blowouts at TSAV. But the one time of year where Jason completely loses his mind is at CanJam SoCal, and this year is no exception. Almost every single product from every brand he carries is being steeply discounted for CanJam attendees. So if you've been waiting for an impossible deal, make a beeline for TSAV's exhibit and check out their CanJam SoCal promos for yourself. While you're there, you can demo Sony's latest flagship DAP, the NW-WM1Z-M2. The 1Z-M2 is Sony's successor to their original NW-WM1Z released back in 2016. And compared to the original, the 1Z-M2 features a new, larger 5-inch TFT color display with 1280 by 720 resolution. Sony's proprietary WM port is now gone in favor of a more welcomed USB-C connection for both power and transfer, as nature intended. And you also find both 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz Wi-Fi connectivity. The 1Z-M2 runs on Android 11, which means listeners can take full advantage of third-party music apps with support for offline playback. Add in an increased runtime of up to 40 hours, and it really is a beast of a player. And should you find the 1Z-M2 to your liking, you can actually take delivery of it right at the show, because TSAV may just be the only US Sony dealer that has any units in stock right now. And finally, if 2 days of CanJam isn't enough, on Monday, September 19th, the day after CanJam SoCal, TSAV is hosting a private CanJam SoCal 2022 afterparty. You can enjoy extended auditions in a quiet environment, and TSAV will be extending their show specials by one more day, giving you one last chance to get an amazing deal. But remember, only CanJam SoCal 2022 attendees who have signed up at TSAV's exhibit at the show will be allowed entry to the afterparty. So be sure to visit their exhibit to reserve your invitation. Oh, one more thing. TSAV will be hosting a giveaway at the afterparty. The prize? It's a Macintosh MHA 200 headphone amp valued at $2,500. The same brilliant amp that I use as my daily driver. And because the afterparty is capacity limited, your odds of winning are, well, pretty darn good.
CanJam is often the perfect place to audition gear that's practically impossible to find in the wild, and this year's CanJam SoCal is no exception. Chord Electronics will be joining us at the show, and of course you'll be able to experience this little powerhouse for yourself, the Chord Electronics Mojo 2. The Mojo 2 is the successor to the Head-Fi favorite Chord Mojo, and many improvements have come in the 7-year gap between these siblings. First and foremost is the FPGA DAC contained within. The Mojo 2's DAC contains nearly 41,000 taps, 40 DSP cores, and a 104-bit custom DSP core. On top of that, Chord also removed the need for the coupling cores found in the original Mojo. So what does all that mean? Well, for starters, coming from someone who owned the original Mojo, it means a world of difference in the sound between the two. The Mojo 2 is more resolving, more neutral. It's less lush than its older sibling, which brings it almost perfectly in line with my sonic preferences. And that's where two other new additions to the Mojo 2 come in, custom EQ and crossfeed. The easy-to-use 4-band EQ allows the listener to fine-tune the Mojo 2's already stellar sound for a superior match with their favorite headphones. All of these changes turn what was once an excellent portable source into one of the most compelling options available on the market today, if you can find one. Now, because the Mojo 2 is in such high demand here at the office, I haven't had quite as much time with it as Jude has. In Chord's lineup, my go-to these days is always my ever-trusty Hugo 2 portable DAC amp. But over the past few weeks, I've found myself constantly going back to a desktop product that Chord Electronics released back in 2018, and that's the reasonably compact piece you see here, the Chord Electronics Hugo TT2. Be sure to audition Chord Electronics' full lineup of DAC amps, both desktop and portable, at Chord's CanJam SoCal exhibit.
Dan Clark Audio will have a new headphone being shown for the first time at CanJam SoCal this year. And it's a new headphone we really wish we could show you right now, but it's just a bit too early to do that. What I can say now is that you will definitely want to stop by Dan Clark Audio's exhibit at CanJam SoCal to hear it, and you'll also want to pay attention to our channel here for a video review of this new headphone. So definitely stay tuned to this channel for that. Now, even though there's a new headphone coming that I cannot talk about yet, there's plenty that I can talk about, and one of the headphones you have to put in your top list of things to audition if you haven't already heard it is the Dan Clark Audio Stealth. The Stealth is Dan Clark Audio's flagship closed-back headphone, and it was one of the headphones that stole the show at last year's CanJam SoCal. The Stealth was Dan Clark Audio's move into the higher end of the high end, and it's absolutely no surprise to me that it's been a huge hit for Dan Clark Audio. The Stealth is again a closed-back headphone, and within the Stealth they applied an invention they call AMTS, which stands for Acoustic Metamaterial Tuning System. AMTS is a very intricate invention that integrates waveguides, diffusion control, quarter wave, and Helmholtz resonators into a single structure. With AMTS, Dan Clark Audio controls resonances as well as shapes frequency response from I believe around 3 kHz up to the ultrasonic. With AMTS and many other optimizations, Dan Clark Audio has what is absolutely among the most open-back sounding, closed-back headphones available. So make sure to stop by the Dan Clark Audio exhibit to hear their entire lineup paying particular attention to the Stealth, and to definitely also hear the upcoming headphone I cannot tell you about right now, but that we'll be telling you about very soon. With this new headphone, I have no doubt Dan Clark Audio will be among the busiest exhibits at the show.
It's been a bit, but Moon Audio is finally joining us once again at CanJam SoCal, and they're going to be bringing a massive collection of gear for you to experience. Moon Audio is perhaps best known in our community for their line of Dragon audio cables and their headphone modification services, but of course, they'll have a plethora of other gear on hand as well. At this year's CanJam SoCal, they'll be showing the evolution of Matrix Audio's Element X, which Matrix Audio has dubbed the Element X2. The Element X2 is a high-resolution music streamer, DAC, headphone amp, and preamp. It's designed to be used both as a standalone device and as part of a system. And that's not limited to just headphone rigs or 2-channel setups. The Element X2 has an HDMI ARC input on the rear to allow high-quality listening for video content from cable or satellite, Blu-rays, game consoles, and streaming services. Speaking of inputs, there's an abundance of digital options available: USB, coax, Toslink, IIS, Ethernet, and wireless LAN. It's room-ready and supports DLNA, Universal Plug-and-Play, and AirPlay 2. The Element X2 offers single-ended stereo inputs and both single-ended and balanced stereo output. Around the front, you'll find a 6.35mm unbalanced and a 4.4mm balanced output for your favorite headphones. Speaking of those headphone outputs, the power output has been boosted with the Element X2. It's capable of delivering up to 1600 milliwatts into 33 ohms via the single-ended output, and 2600 milliwatts into the same via the 4.4mm jack. If you're looking to pair the Element X2 with high-impedance headphones, you'll get up to 580 milliwatts at 600 ohm from the balanced output. Sonically, the Element X2 is nicely revealing and detailed without becoming sharp or piercing, which means that I can still safely pair it with my smooth, bright Audio-Technica ATH-ADX 5000 for hours of listening. The original Matrix Element X was a hit with us here at HeadFi HQ, and the recent time I've spent with the X2 has been reminding me why. I'll admit, I'm going to miss the original Element X's 4-pin XLR jack, but with the additional power available in the X2's balanced output, it may be time to replace my old XLR cables with some new 4.4 terminated Dragon cables. Be sure to stop by Moon Audio's exhibit at CanJam SoCal to check out the Matrix Audio Element X2 paired with Moon Audio's broad selection of headphones.
Last year, CanJam SoCal 2021 hosted no less than 5 new flagships. Included amongst these were Audeze's Carbon and LCD5, Dan Clark Audio's Stealth, Meze Audio's Elite, and Stax's SR X9000. And though the world's very best headphones have traditionally been launched at CanJams, even I have to admit that last year was just insane, with packed stations and long lines all weekend long. However, one of our community's most admired manufacturers, ZMFheadphones, was quietly absent from that fray, and they were definitely missed. But in 2022, they've more than made up for that with 3 fantastic new headphones, the first of which was this. Launched this spring, the Atrium features a newly developed biocellulose driver, employing N52 magnets, the strongest neodymium magnets available. Perhaps more importantly, the Atrium was the first ZMF headphones release to employ the new patent-pending Atrium damping system, ADS for short. ADS is a new baffle assembly that allows for finer and more precise backwave damping during the acoustic tuning process for improved resonance control. If your eyes just glazed over a little bit, the result of all this is a flagship-level headphone that has become an instant classic within the community. With its balanced tonality, open and natural staging, vivid imaging, and addictively analog sound, I found myself reaching for the Atrium far more often than not, especially when I feel like listening purely for enjoyment's sake. If your preferences lean towards a rich, dynamic, and engaging listening experience, put ZMF's Atrium at the top of your audition list for CanJam SoCal 2022. Earlier this summer, ZMF launched a second of their 3 new releases for 2022, the Auteur Classic. It's a continuation of the original Auteur, but with an updated driver and the addition of ADS. Tonally, it's nearly identical to the original Auteur. It's got the same solid mid-bass, the same forward vocal presence, and the same sparkling highs of the original Auteur, though the Auteur Classic does offer better low-end extension. But with the inclusion of ADS, spatially, it's immense. The soundstage is significantly expanded along all axes, and imaging is vastly improved as both vocals and instruments are given better focus. In direct comparisons with the original Auteur, the Auteur Classic is living proof that ADS, as an acoustic device, is both effective and consistent at imparting expanded staging and a greater sense of space. ZMF's new ADS is indeed the real deal. And that's about to become particularly relevant because we're thrilled to announce the 3rd ZMF headphones release of 2022. Making its debut just in time for CanJam SoCal is this, the Caldera. The Caldera is ZMF's first new planar in over 7 years, and it's the culmination of everything that they've learned about planar magnetics and headphone design in general since ZMF's earliest days modding Fostech's T50 RP headphones. It's an open back design featuring an 80mm driver, and it has an impedance of 65 ohms with an estimated sensitivity of approximately 95 dB per milliwatt. So it can be driven with modest gear, though it definitely scales up with more robust amplification. But what truly makes the Caldera special is everything behind the specs. In addition to ADS, which is implemented here using carbon fiber baffles for weight savings, the Caldera is the first ZMF planer to employ their new patent-pending Caldera Asymmetrical Magnet System, or CAMS for short. It's far too complicated a system to fully cover here, but for the moment, just know that CAMS is a complex and customizable array of variably shaped and positioned magnets resulting in asymmetrical flux that produces more nodal diaphragm response, allowing said diaphragm to also move asymmetrically, such that it can displace massive amounts of air while diffusing it at the same time. That's right, it does things. Combining ADS and CAMS with ZMF's new fluted Caldera pads, which were specifically designed to work in conjunction with CAMS, and you now have an end-to-end acoustical airflow system that makes the Caldera sound like no other planer I've heard. Keeping in mind that these are initial impressions since this Caldera is a last-minute addition, if I had to distill the Caldera sound signature into a single word, I'd say that it sounds fluid, which is odd because that's one of the last descriptors that I'd use to describe a planar magnetic headphone. On one hand, the Caldera delivers exactly what you'd expect from a planar magnetic headphone. Linear bass response, good clarity and resolving ability, with excellent layering and separation throughout the stage. But on the other hand, I'm also hearing qualities that I typically associate with dynamic driver headphones, like strong and impactful bass, a silky smooth presentation that's not overly granular, and, aside from a mid-range emphasis that Zach Marabach purposefully tuned into the Caldera, there's even richness and hints of warmth present. It's almost like having the best of both worlds. I can't wait for all of you to hear it at CanJam SoCal 2022. Oh, one more thing. While there's no official launch date for the Caldera as of yet, we've just learned that, in addition to their show demos, ZMFheadphones will be making a very limited number of pre-release Calderas that can be purchased at the show, exclusively for CanJam SoCal attendees.
Astell&Kern will be at CanJam SoCal, and they'll have a major presence at the show with perhaps the biggest exhibit of any of the exhibitors. So why is Astell&Kern going so big at CanJam SoCal? It pains me to say this, but I'm not allowed to say why just yet. But you will want to make sure to find the Astell&Kern exhibit at CanJam SoCal, which will not be hard to do. So let's talk about something I can talk about that will be at the Astell&Kern exhibit at CanJam SoCal. This is the Astell&Kern SP2000T, and it is one of the most versatile portable digital audio players I've ever used, and one that more completely fulfills my hi-fi desires, perhaps beyond what any portable player before it has been able to do, because as I've said many times before, I'm an unapologetic tube audio enthusiast. You see, the Astell&Kern SP2000T has a very unique trick, something Astell&Kern calls the triple amp system. The triple amp system has 3 different modes of operation: tube amp mode, op amp mode, and hybrid amp mode. The tube amp mode uses the Korg new tube, which has an anode grid filament structure, and according to Korg, operates exactly as a triode vacuum tube for the characteristic rich overtones you'd expect when you think of the words triode vacuum tube. Also, to help minimize noise in this mode, the SP2000T uses very cool mechanical isolation mechanisms, including a structure that uses magnets to float the amp to minimize noise when it's exposed to mechanical impact or vibration. It's a very clever, cool solution. Getting back to the amp modes, in op amp mode, you can expect the clarity and resolution associated with flagship class Astell&Kern players, which really is the sound that has made Astell&Kern players so popular with audiophiles. And in hybrid amp mode, you can actually adjust the balance between tube amp mode and op amp mode using very easy screen controls. All of these changes happen instantly, so you can easily compare the sound signature from mode to mode. I mostly use the all tube mode, or I'll use hybrid mode with more tube in the balance. The Astell&Kern SP2000T has a 5-inch Full HD, that's 1920 by 1080 high pixel density display, dual band Wi-Fi, and some software updates that minimize the need to sideload apps, which is a big deal for Astell&Kern enthusiasts. And as expected from Astell&Kern, the SP2000T has a gorgeous chassis design, and in what's also a big deal to enthusiasts of fine leather goods like me, the SP2000T comes with a vegetable tanned leather case using leather from the Italian tannery Badalasi Carlo, which I think is very fancy. Badalasi leather is some of the most coveted leather with leather enthusiasts, and this case should develop a beautiful patina. I picked up an optional green version of the case here. Anyway, at CanJam SoCal, make sure to listen to the new SP2000T, the rest of Astell&Kern's family of portable digital audio players, and the new gear that I can't yet mention that'll be debuting at CanJam SoCal and Astell&Kern's big exhibit.
Empire Ears is a longtime Headfire favorite, and while it may seem like they've been silent since the launch of their Legend Evo last year, behind the scenes, they've been everything but stationary. At CanJam SoCal this year, Empire Ears will be unveiling a new Universal Fit IEM so secretive they've told us practically nothing about it beyond its name. Now, I don't know about you, but when someone is playing their cards that close to the chest, I can't help but be curious. Join me in getting your first listen to the latest creation from Empire Ears at their CanJam SoCal exhibit. Now, speaking of the Legend Evo, that's something which I can talk about in this preview. The Legend Evo's driver complement is inspired by the original Legend X, but took on several key changes during its development. The dual W9 dynamic drivers found in the Legend X have been replaced with two of Empire Ears' improved W9 Plus drivers. You'll also find Empire's new bone-conducting Weapon X Ultra driver inside. Empire Ears says that the upgraded arrangement delivers an experience that you can see and feel all the way from 5 Hz to 35 kHz. In addition to the Legend Evo, I strongly encourage you to try the Empire Ears Wraith if you've never had the chance. The Wraith features 11 drivers in a 5-way crossover design, with 2 low, 3 mid, 2 high, and 4 super high drivers. It may not be as staggeringly gorgeous as the beautiful Valkyrie IEM, but the Wraith will take you by surprise with its incredible extension on both ends, excellent clarity in the mid-range, and a wonderful sense of air up top. Between the Legend Evo and the Wraith, you're already set for some incredible demos at the Empire Ears exhibit, and the yet unannounced IEM will likely be the icing on the cake. Get there early, because there will no doubt be a line to try out the all-new. Oh, come on, Joe, I can't even say that!
No.
Focal will have a new product launching at CanJam SoCal this year, and it's one we really wish we could tell you about in this preview video, but it's just a little too early right now to do that. So all I can say right now is you will definitely want to stop by Focal's exhibit at CanJam SoCal to hear it, and you'll also want to pay attention to our channel here for a video review of this new product, so definitely stay tuned to the channel for that. Since I cannot talk about this new product just yet, I wanted to focus on a couple of recommendations I have for you to check out at Focal's exhibit that I can talk about now, and 2 easy suggestions to audition at the Focal exhibit are the Focal Clear MG and the Focal for Bentley Radiance. I'm choosing these because one is open back, one isn't, and one is one of my neutral reference headphones, and the other is a more vigorous, more robustly tuned model that appeals to a different side of me. This is the Focal Clear MG, and it's definitely one of my over-ear neutral reference headphones. As I've said a zillion times, and I'm sure I'll say it a zillion more times, to me there's not one single neutral voicing when it comes to headphones. There's more of a range of neutrality, and the open-back Focal Clear MG hits that range pretty dead center for me. Versus its predecessor, the Focal Clear MG refined the treble, which for me was a welcome change, as I'm pretty sensitive and picky about treble presentation. But doing this also shifted the tonal balance in such a way that the Focal Clear MG sounds fuller to me on balance than the original Focal Clear, and that is also a significant improvement to my ears. Again, the Focal Clear MG is a superb neutral reference. This is the Focal for Bentley Radiance. It's a closed-back headphone, and the Radiance takes the Focal flagship sound, but with a voicing that has a more full-sounding, bass-emphasized tonal balance, but definitely not so robust as to knock it out of audiophile class. If you tend to prefer a richer signature, the Focal for Bentley Radiance is one of the easiest recommendations to make if you're looking for something that fits that bill and has excellent resolution. Now, it doesn't hurt that the Radiance is also one of the most beautiful headphones to look at, if that matters to you. Anyway, make sure to stop by the Focal exhibit to hear their entire lineup, including the Clear MG, the Radiance, and the product I cannot tell you about right now, but that we'll be telling you about very soon, which I have no doubt will be one of the most popular products to audition at the show.
It's been quite a while since we last saw Schiit Audio at a CanJam, and we're incredibly excited to see that they'll be coming out to join us at CanJam SoCal this year. Schiit Audio has been busy behind the scenes, working up some new and perhaps some outrageous products for the Head-Fi community. The first is the successor to this little guy, the Lear 3, which Schiit Audio has dubbed the Lear Plus. The Lear Plus is the first amp from Schiit Audio designed to be used out of the box as tube or solid state. To pull this off, Schiit Audio developed something they're calling Fusion Architecture. In Schiit Audio's words, Fusion Architecture gives owners a way to experience tubes while always having a solid state backup. Personally, I think this could be an ideal solution for many headfires who, like myself, occasionally want to play around with tube amps but primarily stick to solid state, a solid state amp from Schiit Audio with a tube backup. Schiit Audio also incorporated a relay ladder volume control into the Lear Plus for perfect channel matching at every volume level, something you'll find in the iconic Ragnarok 2 amplifier, but until now, not in any of their more desktop-friendly amps. And speaking of amps, Schiit Audio announced another new amp right before we started filming this segment called the Valley 2 Plus Plus. Details are still a bit limited, but Jason Stoddard says that the Valley 2 Plus Plus is a side grade to the current Valley 2 Plus, and it's expected to start shipping before CanJam SoCal, so be sure to look for that at the show. Of course, the Lear Plus and the just unveiled Valley 2 Plus Plus won't be the only new desktop offerings available to demo at CanJam SoCal. This year, you'll be able to audition these amps with Schiit Audio's newest desktop DAC, the Bifrost 264. The Bifrost 264, or simply 64 as I've been calling it, is a hardware-balanced multi-bit DAC with support for single-ended connectivity as well. It offers both oversampling and non-oversampling modes, and Jason Stoddard calls the 64 the first of their true multi-bit DACs to achieve THD plus noise levels lower than -100 dB. On paper, the Bifrost 264 looks like an incredible and unexpected upgrade to the Bifrost 2, and CanJam SoCal will be your, and my, first chance to experience it in person, alongside Schiit Audio's other new releases like the flagship Folkvanger headphone amp.
Earlier this year, Noble Audio introduced a half dozen new IEMs covering a wide range of sonic signatures. If you haven't heard them yet, I highly suggest that you give them all a listen. But if you're short on time, you'll definitely want to audition their astounding 7-driver quad-bridge model, the Kublai Khan, as well as this new gem, the stunningly gorgeous Viking Ragnar. Launched just last month, the Viking Ragnar features the same driver complement as Noble's very limited edition Damascus Viking. That's 2 dynamic drivers, 4 balanced armature drivers, and 4 electrostatic drivers connected up internally with silver wire, all of which are housed within CNC'd aluminum shells, which are then crowned with mesmerizing Damascus-finished stainless steel faceplates crafted by master jeweler Chris Plouffe. Just about the only thing more amazing than the Viking Ragnar's fit and finish is its sound. In very rough and broad strokes, it's neutral bright with an emphasis in the mid-range and upper mid-range. In particular, the Viking Ragnar offers more vocal detail and clarity than any IEM I've heard. Everything from country ballads by Charlie Worsham and Townes Van Sant, to easily listening classics from the Carpenters and Rumour, to modern pop vocalists like Mimi Webb and Echo Smith, they all come through with a presence that cannot be denied. And of course, for those of you so inclined, the Viking Ragnar will wholeheartedly support your right to Diana crawl your brains out. Truly, you need to experience it for yourself to fully understand what I mean. So bring your very best vocal tracks to Noble Audio's exhibit and put their Viking Ragnar to the test yourself.
When it comes to Sennheiser at CanJam, you know you'll be able to hear their legends, like the Sennheiser HD650, the HD800S, which is my favorite dynamic Sennheiser. But at an audiophile-oriented show like CanJam, it's easy to miss things like wireless active noise-canceling headphones or true wireless earphones. But these are categories almost all of us, yes, even audiophiles, are interacting with and using on a regular basis. And in these fiercely competitive categories, ANC over-ears and true wireless earphones, Sennheiser has recently released new Beast Mode updates, all new updates that you should audition at CanJam SoCal. The Sennheiser Momentum 4 Wireless is a massive departure from the Momentum aesthetic of the last nearly a decade now. And while there's a part of me that will miss the Momentum's original build and look, the Momentum 4 is where they needed to go in this category. Something more practical, something more comfortable, but still looking elegant and smart. And the Momentum 4's performance versus its predecessor Momentum 3 is just as much of a departure as its styling, and very positively so. It sounds better, it cancels noise better, it has improved outgoing voice quality, it's more comfortable, it's simply better all around. The Momentum 4 Wireless has a bass-emphasized sound signature, and I use the Sennheiser app to take that bass down a bit with the EQ settings. And what's nice is those settings stay with the headphone as I move between my 2 phones, one an Android, the other an iPhone. The Momentum 4 images nicely too, I'd say better than the Sony XM5 I've also been using. Now as far as key specs go, the Momentum 4 supports SBC, AAC, aptX, and aptX Adaptive. And this one is a big one. The Sennheiser Momentum 4 provides up to 60 hours of music playback time via Bluetooth, and that's with ANC on. This is far longer, at least twice as long as its key competitors, and 3.5 times longer than the previous generation Momentum Wireless. That's just staggering battery life. Now, switching gears to the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 3, this is another big update to its predecessor. I already found the two previous generation Momentum True Wireless earphones some of the best fitting universal fit designs in my ears. The new Momentum True Wireless 3 has been redesigned. It's smaller now and they fit my ears even better. And they come with a great fit kit with different sized ear tips and ear fins. I can wear them for hours. Now, in terms of battery life per charge, it's listed at 7 hours, which is excellent for the true wireless category. But most importantly, the Momentum True Wireless 3's sound signature is, for me, perhaps my favorite in the category. So far, I've kept it at its default signature, but like the Momentum 4 Wireless, my EQ settings when I use them stay with the earphones. Like the over-ear Momentum 4 Wireless, the Momentum True Wireless 3 supports SBC, AAC, aptX, and aptX Adaptive. I really love the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 3, and you absolutely have to give these new Momentum products a listen at CanJam SoCal.
At CanJam SoCal, there will be no shortage of incredible headphones to try, and a number of those headphones can be quite demanding. Some of the best headphones in the world require amps that are so powerful it almost feels like they could shift the world. This is one such amp, the Pathos Acoustics In-Pole Ear Reference Headphone Amplifier. Now that's quite the mouthful of a name, so here at the office I've taken to calling it simply the In-Pole Ear. That first half, the in-pole portion of its name, is an abbreviation for this Italian phrase that I'm unable to pronounce properly, but which Upscale Audio was kind enough to translate. They say in-pole is short for linear pump follower. The in-pole technology is based around a fully balanced circuit design, and with it, Pathos Acoustics set out to deliver greater power from a pure Class A output. On paper, it certainly hits the mark. The in-pole ear delivers up to 10 watts into 32 ohms via its balanced output, and a full watt into 300 ohms via the same. Single-ended output tops out at 3 watts, and that should be ample power for most unbalanced headphones. So given all that power, how does the in-pole ear sound with demanding headphones? While driving the HIFIMAN Susvara, a headphone which some view as the pinnacle of sound, but also one that's quite demanding, and fed by my ever-trusty Hugo 2, the in-pole ear doesn't skip a beat. Presence, impact, response, resolution, each of these are pushed to their limits in the Susvara while driven by the in-pole ear. This amp effortlessly highlights what makes the Susvara so magical and sought after in our community. On the other end of the sonic spectrum, with one of my longtime reference headphones, Sennheiser's 600 ohm HD800, the in-pole ear offers a welcome boost to the 800's overall body and depth. In my experience, only a few amps have been able to push the 800 to the outer levels of life, vitality possible in its sound, and that alone makes the in-pole ear worthy of an audition at CanJam SoCal this year. Of course, the in-pole ear won't be the only amp worth checking out at the Upscale Audio exhibit. While you're there, I encourage you to join me in trying out the Felix Audio Envy amp for the first time. The Envy is a 300B tube amp, frequently referred to as the God tubes in our community, and it's capable of delivering up to 8 watts into your favorite, most demanding headphones. It's also one of the more highly recommended amps I've come across on the forums. The Felix Audio Envy will be available to try at Upscale Audio's table, so make sure it's also one of your auditions when you stop by.
At CanJam London was a small exhibit by a company called xMEMS. I hadn't heard of xMEMS before, but Michael Ritchie from xMEMS was telling me about their new driver technology. Essentially, he gave me an introduction to a new transduction mechanism, a piezo MEMS monolithic speaker. It's not induction coil based, it's a capacitive voltage based system. Anyway, simply put, xMEMS is the first true MEMS speakers. MEMS stands for micro electromechanical systems, by the way. What are some of their claims? One of the most noteworthy and easy to understand is the xMEMS driver's fast response. xMEMS claims their drivers are an order of magnitude faster than balanced armature and dynamic driver designs, ranging from 30 to 150 times faster. They also say their drivers have outstanding phase consistency, 7 times better than dynamic speakers for improved precision and separation. xMEMS drivers have exceptional matching from unit to unit, which they claim eliminates the need for speaker matching and reduces speaker calibration. There are many other claimed advantages too. At CanJam London, many people, myself included, sat down and listened to xMEMS demo earphones. They were just super simple, quickly printed, not passively dampened IEMs that incorporated their drivers as a simple demonstration. They looked as rough as I'm describing them. Let me just say though, it was a very impressive demo. I am asked to listen to a lot of new things, but xMEMS demo was among the more memorable demos in recent years, one of the surprises. What I heard from those hastily assembled IEMs was extremely promising, very impressive, wonderful resolving ability. xMEMS doesn't make consumer products, but those who do need to get acquainted with these xMEMS drivers post-haste. If you're attending CanJam, whether you're a consumer or manufacturer, make sure to stop by xMEMS exhibit to talk about these drivers with them and to listen to their demos. Also, Michael Ritchie is holding a seminar at CanJam SoCal about xMEMS and their technologies, so don't miss that seminar either.
Hey, did you know that Woo Audio has a new stat amp? That's alright, I didn't know either. Launched relatively quietly this past spring, Woo's new ES8 electrostatic headphone amplifier is their new entry-level model sitting at the beginning of their electrostatic amplifier range. But make no mistake, the ES8 isn't simply an energizer like the Wii, but rather a fully fledged Class A push-pull direct drive amp employing 4 EL84 pentos as power tubes and 4 8532 trios as driver tubes. Around the back, the ES8 has both single-ended RCA and balanced XLR inputs, as well as an XLR output, because the ES8 also functions as a preamp for your speaker rigs. And of course, the ES8 was designed with 580-volt stacked Pro Bias outputs for maximum compatibility with modern electrostatic headphones from Audeze, Dan Clark Audio, HIFIMAN, and obviously Stax. Available in both black and silver, the ES8 is global voltage ready and comes with a 3-year warranty. So if you're ready to take a serious plunge into building out an electrostatic ecosystem, but not yet ready for a headlong dive into a flagship stat amp, then Woo Audio's new ES8 might just be perfect for you.
Warwick Acoustics will be at CanJam SoCal, and they'll be showing their lineup in the main exhibit hall with their open-back electrostatic headphone systems that I'll get back to in a minute. Now, one very cool thing Warwick Acoustics is doing is bringing a large, fully enclosed acoustic isolation booth for their exhibit, in which you can audition their systems in an impressively quiet listening environment, even as the rest of the show floor bustles all around you. I've been in this booth before, and it's very cool and very effective. Now, Warwick Acoustics specializes in electrostatic headphone systems. You don't have to worry about which electrostatic amps to go with, as they're included in their systems. Amps that are purpose-built and optimized for Warwick's own electrostatic headphones. This is the first model they released some years back, and it's called the Sonoma Model 1, and it was designed by a team that included some of the key people behind DSD as a high-resolution format, the team behind the Sonoma digital audio workstation that was used to record thousands of SACD titles. Their goal for the system was neutrality, and to me it is in fact on the neutral side of things, and like one would expect from its studio roots, it also responds well to EQ. Warwick also has a new headphone that works with the Sonoma Model 1's amp called the Bravura. I haven't heard the Bravura yet, but I can't wait to hear how it compares to the Model 1 headphone in this setup. Warwick will also have their no-holds-barred, cost-no-object flagship electrostatic system, the Warwick Acoustics Aperio, which is intended to compete with anything at any price. At CanJam SoCal, I definitely want to spend some time with the Aperio to hear Warwick Acoustics' finest effort, hear how the Aperio compares versus some of my other top references. Anyway, make sure to stop by Warwick Acoustics exhibit at CanJam SoCal to hear their entire lineup in an environment of relative silence.
Every now and then, you'll come across a CanJam exhibit that takes you by surprise. At last year's CanJam SoCal, there was an unexpected standout for me among the exhibitors. Unexpected because the product in question was being marketed as a gaming headset. Now, some of us, myself included, have preconceived notions about what to expect from a gaming headset, but every once in a while, something comes along and tosses those notions out the window. At CanJam SoCal this year, you'll be able to audition a headphone that did just that, the VZR Model 1. VZR describes the Model 1 as the first hi-fi headset engineered specifically for both competitive gaming and critical listening. The Model 1 features a closed-back design with a carbon fiber structural ring, detachable noise-canceling boom microphone, and a technology VZR calls Crosswave. VZR's co-founder and inventor Vic Tiscareno states that VZR's Crosswave focuses sound to different parts of your ear for a more precise and natural audio experience, and the company says that Crosswave selectively and strategically reshapes audio waves to emulate the way you would perceive the sound in real life without headphones. According to VZR, this results in improved separation, openness, and accurate 3D spatial positioning. Now those are no doubt some bold claims, but my time listening to the Model 1 left me with the feeling that VZR is delivering on each of them. And I wasn't the only one. In conversations during the weekend and in the CanJam SoCal Impressions thread following last year's event, Headfire's Mice Blue, Decent Levi, and others all mentioned coming away from the Model 1 demo with an unexpectedly positive experience. Regardless if you're coming to CanJam looking for a headset or a more conventional headphone, VZR's CanJam SoCal 2022 exhibit will be one that I feel is a must-see.
If you caught any of the buzz coming out of CanJam Chicago 2022 earlier this summer, then you know that Wells Audio made a huge impact on attendees with their Headtrip 3 Level 2 headphone amplifier. Capable of outputting up to 50 watts per channel, the Headtrip 3 Level 2 repeatedly drove some of the most demanding headphones around, including HIFIMAN's Suswara, to near perfection. I auditioned the Headtrip 3 Level 2 with an Audeze LCD5 since that's my personal reference back here at home. And let me just say that I've never heard an LCD5 sound like that. Without any EQ or DSP at all, that pairing produced deep, rich, gut-punching bass, extended airy highs, and more spacious staging than I've ever heard here at home, all without sacrificing any of the detail, resolution, or mid-range presence that LCD5s are known for. And yet, as amazing as that audition was, the Headtrip 3 Level 2 is about to get even better. At CanJam SoCal 2022, Wells Audio will be featuring the first production pair of their new Headtrip 3 Level 2M, where that M stands for monoblocks. That's right, monoblocks. Each Headtrip 3 Level 2M will form one half of a matched pair and be powered by its own external power supply, granting the entire system a blacker background and increased dynamic range. And of course, there will be zero crosstalk between channels. Personally, my expectations are through the roof here, and I can't wait to experience what this system can do. So if you've been on a quest for supremely confident, no-compromise amplification for your Suswara, HE6, or really any headphone that scales with world-class amplification, then do not miss Wells Audio's exhibit at CanJam SoCal 2022.
Again, CanJam SoCal is taking place September 17th and 18th at the Irvine Marriott Hotel in Orange County, California. This video was just a small portion of everything you'll be able to hear and see in Los Angeles this month. Now, we didn't have time to highlight something from every CanJam exhibit, so scrolling on your screen now is a list of all of the exhibitors and brands at CanJam SoCal this year. Thank you for watching. From all of us here at HeadFi, we'll see you in SoCal and on the forums at headfi.org.